So welcome, Tim.
Thank you.
Oh, that's all I'm going to get.
Thanks for having me.
That's my pleasure. It's you've got a great story, and yet you've got a terrible story. It's kind of a contradiction in itself, but I think it's I wanted to get you on because I think it's really important that we understand that one of the things that I try to really push is that we're all beautiful human beings and we're all unique individuals, with our own unique strengths and gifts and talents and everything else. And when that's celebrated and embraced, we all add to the tapestry of life, and add to a beautiful world. But when I guess attitudes and beliefs and everything else are, squash that, that's when we get wars, and that's when we get hatred, and that's when we get all sorts of bloody things that we really don't need in this world. So I'm glad to have you on. So I'm glad that we can dig into your story and open up some of that stuff.
Awesome.
You can't just give me one word answers, or we'll be finished in 5 minutes.
No, I'm the same. So I've tried to talk about my story for the past 7 years. And a lot of outlets don't want to hear about it because they're like, oh, it's too dark and it's a bad story. And I'm like, but this is what's happening. And if you don't report on it, it won't stop.
Yep.
So I had a really good journalist from the Sydney Morning Herald in Sydney, Anna Paddy. She did a great double-page story. But that was it. That and Joy FM. Nobody really wanted to go, okay, the bad stuff's happening in workplaces, let's actually stop this. It was it's kind of been left with deaf ears and muted mouths. So
yeah,
I'm so happy that you've got me on, because at least more people will hear that it's not just them.
Yeah.
And there are ways to get it rectified. You don't have to take bullying or harassment or discrimination.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's have a look. So you're now called the gay farmer, and you're now the gay farmer candle maker, and it's absolutely fantastic that you sort of, one, I think it's good. You could just call yourself Tim's Candles, or you could call yourself the candle maker, or 100% soy. But you've kept the gay farmer candles in there, and it's kind of like really proudly saying up front, this is who I am, like it or lump it. And there are going to be people who go, well, I'm not going to buy a candle from him, and so bloody be it. But it's such for me, it makes me want to support you more, because you're actually saying, well, I've been bullied and harassed, yet I'm not going to shut up. I'm going to put this out there. Now, I want to talk about your candles as we a little bit further on, and why you came to making candles. But let's just go back to the start. Well, to the start of your working. Well, just the start of the shit show, really.
Yep.
In 2016, in your workplace, you were subjected to bullying, harassment, discrimination, and a lot of awful things, which is disgusting. And it doesn't matter what you believe or what your preferences are or anything like that. Even if you are completely like, I would never be gay, whatever, you still don't have a right to bloody trudge other people. So tell it I don't want to raise trauma for you.
No, that's fine.
What
I've
happened?
been dealing with it for 7 years and multiple court cases, so it's not as traumatic these days to go through it as it used to be, because you get to the point where you're quite numb about what happened. So it's just I still have panic attacks and stuff like that, but it's not, talking about it now, I think, is now more of a sign of strength than reliving the trauma. Like, there's still trauma there, but I can deal with that a lot better now that I've been seeing a psychologist, and I've got the tools to do that. So I started at a fruit and veg wholesaler at the Melbourne markets in 2016, and it was all good until they hired a sales and the sales manager. So he looked after all the guys that sold the fruit to like Woolies and all the little fruit and veg shops. And he was just anti-gay from the start. Didn't like it. He voiced his opinion quite regularly. He would call me a lady every day. And this went on for nearly 18 months. I reported everything that he'd done, and the company it wasn't like they took the report seriously enough. So the CEO talked to him, had a casual conversation saying, you just can't say these things, but didn't stop it. So after they had that conversation, he continued, and he was just, I don't care what religion you are. From what I understand, he had been in trouble with the law before, come out of that and become a born-again Christian. Don't care if you're Christian, Catholic, Episcopalian, or whatever you want to be. I've got friends from all different religious and cultural backgrounds, but a workplace isn't somewhere where those conversations need to be had. And so one day in October, he was having a conversation with another worker that I could overhear. And then that's where it really started, because he was saying things like gay people don't deserve to live, poo pushers are effing disgusting, faggots aren't normal people, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, where's this, like, how can you, like, back in 2016, it wasn't bad for gay people, and we're quite, I consider myself lucky being the generation I am. I didn't have to face as much as what my previous generation saw. So being in the workplace, I'd never seen this kind of hatred, and I'd been in many different jobs. And like, I've worked in the mines, I've worked in the building industry, and never have I been like confronted so badly. And so I put in a formal complaint after that. I was like, nah, the lady's singing now this, it's one step too far. So I put the complaint in, nothing happened. 2 days after the complaint, he was talked to about the complaint. He then asked me in for a meeting, and I thought it was work-based because our jobs unfortunately crossed. And then in that, he tried to justify his hatred for gay people. And I'm like, you can't justify this to me.
Wow.
And that's when I had my first panic attack, because I was like, I'm in this room with a guy trying to justify his hatred for who I am. And half the meetings are blank because I was just in this state of panic and anxiety that I'm just sitting there just going, what the hell is this? Like, I'd never been in a situation. So after that, I complained again. I'm like, he should never be allowed to talk to me alone in a closed room. Like, what are you letting happen? And then later after that, it would have been December, I went up to our sales floor where we did all our sales, all the fruit and veggies there, and he was on a forklift and swung it around and missed me by millimeters.
Wow.
And that's when I'm like, I'm now in danger.
Yeah.
So I reported that to my manager. I'm like, there's a near miss. I nearly got hit by a forklift by the guy who's bullied me. Can we do something? And there was just a resounding, nothing's going to happen. You're just going to have to deal with it. And I'm like, I don't have to deal with my life being in danger.
Yeah.
And then after Christmas, it was probably late January, early February, we had crossed paths. I was going up to our sales floor. He was coming back to our warehouse. I was walking. He was in a buggy. And that's when he told me that all I deserved was to be raped with a knife.
Oh, my God. Wow.
And that was when I knew I couldn't be there. I needed a break. I didn't report it because I was like, it was escalating. Everything that I reported, he'd escalate again. So I didn't report that because I was too scared that something else was going to happen. And from what I understood, his son was an MMA fighter. So I'm like, I'm not taking any risks here with I'm not going to report that. I went into my manager and I said, how much leave do I have? and I think I had 3 weeks and 3 days. I said, I'll be taking that as soon as possible. Thank you. And then that's when I went to my doctor and told her what had been happening at work. And then when I went back to work, they'd hired someone to do my job and completely changed my job description when I went back. And I said, but I never agreed to this. You didn't bring me a new contract. And then he still continued to call me a lady every morning. And I was just, every time it happened, I put in another complaint. I'm like, do something. And then they terminated me first and final on the 26th of June, out of nowhere. And it wasn't like first thing in the morning. They got me to do a big part of my job that no one else was really capable of doing, then terminated me. And I'm like, I'm back in a tailspin going, what the hell is this? So I said, fine, whatever, I'll leave, but I'll see you at Fair Work for the dismissal. And then I talked to legal aid and I told them about everything else that happened. And that started a 7-year, I'm in my 3rd lawsuit. And just, so I haven't worked since the 26th of June. I was on Centrelink Job Seeker for a while. And then because I was deteriorating so badly because I wasn't getting any support because WorkCover deemed my claim to be false. They're like, nothing happened to you. And I'm like, so WorkCover in Victoria is just, it's horrendous. Unless you've like lost a limb, they don't care. Psychological issues to them are just your problem, deal with it. So I've fought them on that for 7 years. And because I didn't get the help, I went downhill so bad that I ended up now on a disability pension because my diagnosis, I've got PTSD, agoraphobia, and an adjustment disorder. And unfortunately, my adjustment disorder is a very aggressive type. So when I get extremely stressed, I get quite violent. So I can't go into workplaces because if something happens, I may hurt someone. And I'm not going to do that to someone else. I know what it's like being in that position. So, and my doctors are like, we can't risk it yet because if we sign off it, they're liable for whatever happens to me and whatever I do. So 7 years of not working and now I have this business and it's doing really well, but because of everything that's happened to me, I donate a lot of my profits. So I'm running like probably just on even because I donate a lot of the money that I make back into really good charities that do work that I wish I had. So the candle business isn't for me to make money. It's for me to help others. It's my way of making sure that no one else gets put in my position, which they shouldn't be in the first place. Like I would expect a manager to be right on top of something like this. It's not conducive. The company had anti-bullying statements in the contracts and equal opportunity employment things. And I'm like, where are you helping me with the contract I signed to be protected in the workplace?
Wow, absolutely. They weren't. Yeah.
No, and they kept him. From what I understand, he's still working at this company 7 years later.
Wow. So what was that? What was that phobia you said you had? Agoraphobia, was it?
Agoraphobia. So that's a fear of going into wide open spaces with a lot of people. So this business has been really good for my treatment because I'm forced to go to markets and be around other individuals, but it does get it gets a bit hairy sometimes. Like I've been to a couple of events and I'm just really just stressing out because I'm like, there's too much going on. But I have to learn to push through that now because if I continue on the way I was going, I would never leave the house. So it's all treatment now. So if I didn't start this candle business, I don't think I would be where I am now.
You know, it sucks, doesn't it? It's like one person's attitude, you know, can ruin a whole person's life. And I think that we let's go back like 30 years. You know, this is before you were in the workplace, but I was in the workplace. And people were just sort of making comments all over the place about anything, you know, and it was just a joke and you get away with it and that kind of stuff. And you know, drink a cup of concrete, whatever people used to say, you know, and still say it. And mental health and psychological issues were just laughed at, you know, it was just a joke, and it was you're weak as piss and all that kind of stuff. Now we're actually really understanding it, you know, and starting to take it a lot more seriously. And it's not just the mental health. I'm a little bit stressed and I'm anxious and, you know, I can't go. It destroys lives. Like it destroys. It's not okay for one person to have their entire life destroyed because somebody else, you know, decides they're going to bully. And we can't change everybody's opinion. Like you can't make everybody, you know, be a vegan. You can't make everybody not be homophobic, and you can't make everybody believe in every religion or whatever. You just can't make people. But every single person walking this earth should have the right to be who they are. And you can have your opinions, but keep them to your fucking self. Like, you know,
yes,
mind your business.
That's the thing. Like you can have any opinion you want of me, but you don't have to voice it to me.
We don't have to hurt you either.
Yeah, I don't deserve it. I've done nothing to deserve it. It's not like I was hitting on him or being suggestive to him. So what's I don't understand the mentality of having to say these things for what gain? Like, is it personal gain that you feel like you've one up me and you've trumped me by calling me a lady or saying that I'm disgusting because I'm gay? Or is it your own insecurities about yourself that you have to make others feel shit? And
I think that one. I think that's the one. You know, I've got this. I've got a really solid view. Maybe I'm just as bad because I've got my own personal anti-view. But you know, I've got this view that people, particularly homophobic people, and particularly those who are so aggressive about it, I actually think they're and some I might get feedback on this, but I don't give a fuck really. I reckon they're you know, sick.
They're closets.
Sick, perverted bastards, because at the end of the day, like there's a lot of people out there who say, well, gay people are sick and they're disgusting and that kind of stuff. I kind of put it back and say, you're fucking disgusting and sick, because if when in the workplace a gay person is doing exactly the same job as a straight person, and it really does not matter, and just as good a job, and there's no difference in the work. But if you're going down this this tunnel of, you know, lowering somebody because of who they sleep with, why that makes you a perverted sick bastard is because what the hell are you doing thinking about what other people do in bed? Like that is such a, because that's the only difference. And are you spying through people's windows, or are you lying in bed at night imagining what other people are doing in bed? And holy shit, to me that's sicker. Like that's actually disgusting.
And what does it matter what I do at home in my private life? Like, we don't live together. We are not friends out of work.
Yeah.
Take me as face value at work. I do my job. I do my job well. That's all that mattered.
Yeah.
But I have a similar view with the very extreme homophobic men and some women, is that they're extremely jealous that I'm living my authentic life as a gay person and they can't.
Yep.
They want to be out in the world with their same-sex partner, but they got married and they've got kids and now they can't live that life, so they take it out on me. And it's like, it's 2023. It's called divorce. And go and have that partner you actually want. Your wife will probably be happy about it because she can find someone else, and your kids aren't going to hate you for being gay. They're probably going to respect you more because you didn't waste their mother's life. Like, I get it a lot. So I've done so many markets, and then I've had people on Grindr contact me, and they were there with their wife, and I'm like, don't be contacting me now after you've met me at a market and I met you and your wife. Like, do you really think I'm going to come chasing after you now? I'm like, no, thank you, go away.
No, I agree. I think it's it is, but I also understand how tough that is for people, because you've there are people who out there who are like that, who are in relationships they shouldn't be, and they are gay, and they should be in a they it would be better if they were in a gay.
It would be better.
However, I get it, because there are still a lot of their parents, who have got a very definite idea, and who would discard them from the family, I suppose, which again is not right, because the love of our children it should be everything, and no matter what they do, as long as they're good, as long as they don't hurt other people. But it's I get it, because there are some very strong parents, although I still think that if you've got to be authentic, because you're going to die sick. You're going to die blood sick if you don't live your own life.
When you live, so I didn't come out till I was 18, but I knew from an extremely young age that I was gay. And through my teen years, it was horrific to live two lives. And it makes you you don't feel yourself. You don't always feel up to anything, because you're having this battle with yourself that someone's going to catch you out on something. And when I finally did come out, it was such a relief. But I didn't tell my father, because I thought we're from Gippsland. He grew up on farms. He's a very stoic man. And I always had this fear that if he found out, he would be just livid. But he did not give a fucking shit. I didn't get to tell him. A neighbour told him. She thought he knew, and it just come across, and he just did not give a shit. And he's probably the most proud of what I've done with this brand out of all my family. He tells everyone he knows that I've got this great brand, and it's called The Gay Farmer. And at 18, I wouldn't have thought that would be my dad.
Yeah.
But he shocked me, and I shouldn't be shocked, because he loves me, my brother and my sister, and it doesn't matter what we've done. Yeah. My brother wasn't a great teenager. My sister was a bitchy teenager, but he always loved it. It's like there was no, we didn't miss out on my father's love, because it was always there, and I should have known better to have told him. But you have that fear at 18, and even at 36 now, there are some people you don't want to tell. Not that people can't tell with me. It's fine. I don't give a shit. But you meet some people and you're like, I don't know. Yeah. I don't really want to confirm it for you, because I don't know which way you're going to take that.
Yeah.
And it really shouldn't. Everybody should be given that basic respect.
Absolutely.
Until I do something where I don't deserve basic respect, just be nice. It's really not hard to be a nice person.
No, it is really not hard. But I think gay men have it a lot harder than gay women.
I find that straight women love gay men more, and straight men are fine with lesbians. But even straight women, they don't care about lesbians. No. It's just straight men and gay men are like oil and water, and I don't understand it. Because they're happy with so many others from our community that they don't care, but it's just gay men that they're just like, no. And it's like, we're not hitting on you. Yeah. We don't want to take you home. Stop having so many tickets on yourself. And I've asked a few straight men, I blatantly like, what is your problem? And they're like, I don't want to give you any ideas. And I'm like, no ideas. Not at all. And then they get upset that you don't think they're attractive. And I'm like, but you were upset that I thought you were attractive, and now I think you're not. You're upset because I think you're ugly. And I'm like, what is wrong with your going on here? Is it that you have to feel like I love you and want to take you home? But if I express that, you get angry.
Yeah.
But if I express the opposite, you still get angry.
I remember I worked with a guy who had to go to the doctors, and there was a gay doctor in our town, and he said, "Oh, I'm not going to him." And I said, "Why?" And he said, "Oh, he's probably going to do something to me." And I said, "Jesus, you've got tickets on yourself." I said, "What is wrong with you?" As if he would think you're attractive. Like, you're going to go in there and he's just going to think, "Oh my God, you're the most attractive man I've ever seen. Get over here and pull your pants out." I said, "You're a dickhead. You've got tickets on yourself."
Oh,
People aren't thinking like that. Like people aren't just walking around all day going, "Who can I screw?" Like,
yes.
well, some people are, but not.
Yeah.
This is what gay people seem to get lumbered with, this identity, and it's not true. Nobody walks around going,
They think we are a sex
I know.
obsessed gender that is only out to find the next route. And it's like, we live completely normal lives. I live on a farm. I've got sheep. I've got investments. I live a life like any other normal person. But for some reason, you think that all I do when I'm out for a coffee with friends is try and look for the hottest guy that's out. I'm like, I got better things to do than look at you. I've got a friend here that I'm in a conversation with. Like,
Exactly. Yeah.
It's changing. Like, I come back to Traralgon after 26 years. And I was a little hesitant coming back. So I come back 2019. And Traralgon hasn't always been the most accepting of towns. I've not had a single issue since I've been back.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if this country town can accept me exactly who I am extremely loud and proud. I wear all my merch, all my Gay Farmer merch. No one has said boo to me. But when you go up closer to the city, it gets a bit worse. And I'm like, how is the city so bad? Yeah.
Oh.
Like, because I've been to Bairnsdale, and I thought Bairnsdale was going to be a bit rough because it has a reputation. Nothing. And I'm like, how can the country be so far ahead of a city that is one of the biggest gay cities in the world? Like, how is the homophobia moved all the way up there, but the country's just like, yeah, whatever, don't care. Like, I don't understand it. And I love the fact that I am so proud of down here and how well they've accepted me with my business and who I am, that I tell all my city folks, I'm like, I feel safer in the country than I ever do in the city.
Yeah. I think Gippsland's pretty good, though. I think there's a lot of really good leaders in Gippsland, that really standing up, not just for LGBTQI, it's for everything, for everything, saying, hey, we need more of this. Hey, this isn't right. Hey, I'm speaking up. Hey, I'm calling this out, and which I think Gippsland's like the same as everywhere. There's always going to be an undertone of shit, in every area you go to. But I think you can't avoid that. But I think what matters in regions, or what matters in areas, is when people do have a platform, or they are in a leadership position, or they have got something to say and they've got the courage to say it, because then it gives other people the opportunity to stand behind them, or to say, me too, I agree with that, and the people in leading positions do need to speak out, because then it just opens a path for everybody else, to say, yeah, I'm on board with that, and I don't have a problem with it, and calling people out. I think it's cool.
Exactly. I've only had to call out one person at a market. One guy with his girlfriend wanted to have a snigger, and I heard the snigger, and I'm like, you haven't got as quiet a voice as you think, mate. I heard what you said. Fuck off. I don't want your money. I don't want anything from you. Piss off from my tent. And he shit bricks because he knew I said it so loud that others could hear, that if he tried anything, they were going to come and back me up.
Yeah.
I feel down this way, if you have ill will against gay people or anyone and they stand up for themselves, you're no longer the person people stand up for anymore. Yeah. People will do the right thing and stand up for the person getting bullied or harassed, and they're the lone person and they get scared now. And that's why I think I feel so safe down here, because if I stand up and yell enough, someone's going to come and back me up.
Yeah.
We're in the city, I think, because it's so busy and no one cares about what's going on around them. If that was to happen, people would just walk away.
Yeah.
It happens all the time. Someone falls over in the city and gets hurt, but no one stops to call the police.
Yeah.
Or the ambulance. They just leave them there. And I'm like, that's how I feel when I go up there. If something was to happen, people would be just like, that's your problem, deal with it. We're down here, it's that mateship that's really inbred in the country, that you help someone who's in trouble.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Now, tell me, now you've gone through all this bullying, and we've opened up a can of worms, which is fantastic. And you've developed some, mental health, that's had a mental health impact and everything else. Now, and we're hearing about your market, which I absolutely love you, and I love that you're doing it, despite the fact that it can be stressful and it can agitate some of your conditions, but you're still doing it anyway. And not only is it good for you, it's actually good for other people too, to be having something that's just so blatantly there and just let's go. But what got you into candle making?
So my sister lives in Perth with her husband and 2 kids, and she's 19 now, 19-year-old niece. She started candle making probably 2020 during COVID.
Yeah.
And she come over in 2021 and we were talking about it. And I'm like, that seems like quite relaxing and something, because I need a creative outlet. I'm left-handed. I always have to be doing something that's using that kind of creative side of me. And I hadn't had anything for a while because of the mental health stuff. Like all my creative stuff, I was like, no, it just annoys me and I don't want to touch it.
Yeah.
And she was telling me about candle making. I'm like, that seems like something I could actually get into. So I just bought like a little cheap-ass starter set. And I really enjoyed it. I'm like, this is actually quite fun. And there's like a science to it. So I like having something where you've got to think as well. Like I like using my brain. And then because it went well, I'm like, okay. And then I was a part of Traralgon Harriers. And we have a triathlete, Molly Irvine, and she went over to Worlds for the age, and she finished 5th, and she did extremely well off an injury, but they have to pay for everything. It's not a grant and funded thing through the government. So it costs quite a lot of money, and a lot of local businesses helped her get there. So I said to her, would you mind if I make a candle and donate money from the candle to you? And she's like, that would be great. So she picked everything that she wanted, and I made it, and it made me feel really good doing something for someone else again.
Yeah.
And then I just love the process, and I'm like, actually, I might actually get into this a little bit more deeper. And then it kept growing. I started off with about 5 different scents. Now I'm at 20. Wow. I have 2 different ranges. So I have a really fruit sweet side and a really masculine side. And it's just beyond what I thought it would ever be. And the support is just like, when you start a small business, you don't expect to get huge support right start up. Like, your friends are going to support you and family. But when I started doing markets, people were like, this is amazing. And so many parents would come up to me and go, I've got a gay child and this just makes me smile. And I'm like, good, this is what should be happening. I want people to celebrate everyone in our community. As much as I'm the gay farmer, I am our community's representative.
Yeah.
And I think that gives me quite a lot of pride that I'm actually out there making sure that kids who are, 10, 11 can see that there's a leader in the community that is out and proud, and they don't have to be scared. And if they want to contact me and go, look, I'm having this kind of trouble or that kind of trouble, I'll help them. It's not just a candle business. If something's wrong, I've been through so much that I'll have some type of advice for them. Yeah. And that's the other side of it, because I've got a market friend, her grandson, she every time she sees me, it tells me every time, he just loves your brand. He loves you. He thinks you're amazing. And I'm just like, oh, he's such an adorable little kid. So I give him a candle every now and again, and it makes his day. He will not stop ranting and raving about it. And it's small things like that, that when he grows up to a young adult, he'll remember, and then he'll treat everyone the same.
That's right.
And it's just changing small perceptions. Like, I meet burly men at some of these markets, and they are buying candles for their wives, and I just look at them going, wouldn't have picked you for a candle. But they come and they support, and they think it's just like, some of my candle names are quite hilarious. And they just think it's so funny, and they love that I'm the gay farmer, and they think that's funny. And they're like, oh, so do you actually have a farm? And I'm like, well, yeah, I wouldn't fake the farmer. And it really makes me really happy that there's people they're just happy to see something like this. And look, there's lots of candle makers out there, and it's a very, very hard niche to get doing really well. But because my logo is so out of the box, and I am my brand, I live it daily, I think that's where a lot of the support comes, because they know I am this authentic gay guy who lives on a farm that makes candles.
Yeah. Oh, one of these things is not like the other.
No, and this is like an ex-partner of mine years and years ago. I was like 18, 19. He's like, me and you are complete opposites. He's straight on the outside, but a complete princess on the inside, which was true. Everybody thought he was straight, but he was the gayest campus piece of shit you could find. But I'm the opposite. I'm quite gay on the outside, but I love cars. I like sport. I don't mind going camping. I do really quite masculine stuff, but you wouldn't know it unless you talk to me, because if you talk to me, they're like, oh, he's just another Queenie fag. But I'm completely opposite. I will talk cars all day. I'll talk football all day. I don't care. But a lot of people won't take that next step to find out that I am actually... If I didn't have the gay voice and everything, they would never know. Yeah. But it takes a real man to actually have that conversation with me and go, actually, I could hang out with you and talk sports all day because you know your shit.
Yeah.
But a lot of people won't go past he's got a gay voice.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's a fucking voice. There's nothing I can do with it. Like, what do you want me to do? Like, come on. So if they take that extra second, they'll find out that I'm actually just a real bogan, like full bogan.
And we love our bogans in the country.
Oh, I love a good mulleted bogan. I have friends are like, you need to get a mullet, and I'm like, I think that's one step too far.
It is one. Don't do it.
I would look horrible.
That'll look good on anybody. Sorry if you're listening and you got a bloody mullet, but yuck.
No, I'm not a big fan of mullets. No.
So which markets are you at for people to, if they want to?
So my usuals are Warrigal Arts Market when it's on. So that's a summer series. So that's about September through to March, April. I do Terrelgan when I haven't got an event on. So I try to do quite a lot of charity markets. So I just did the Code 9 at Rosedale, which is for first responders and dispatchers who suffer with PTSD.
Yeah.
And when I found that Rosedale was doing one, I'm like, I need to support this foundation because they're doing work that should be done. Like first responders and the dispatchers, they see and hear quite horrific things. And I was like, I'm in, let's go. And then I'm doing the Do It for Dolly Day for Dolly's Dream in Ballara.
Yeah.
That's this weekend. What else have I got coming up? Lock. I'm doing Lock Winter Market Series. So I'll be there once a month from May, June, July, and I think August. And then I do quite big caravan and lifestyle shows.
Yeah. So
I've got Lardner Park Caravan, and then I've got Bendigo Caravan and camping. And a really big one that Gippslanders should support is Currumbara Southern Lights.
Yeah.
It's at Cold Creek Reserve, and they have a massive bonfire.
Wow.
And they have fire twirlers and food and a big market centre, and it's a night market, so it's really cool.
Wow.
They've got 5,000 tickets currently for sale, but it's a really good local event that needs to be supported, because we don't get that anymore. You don't get big bonfire nights and like cool stuff like that. So that's one of my next biggest ones, and I've got one in Mansfield. Not looking forward to that. That's a long drive.
And cold.
Yeah, so it's Queen's birthday weekend when the snow season starts.
Yeah.
So they've all told me it might be slightly frozen. I'm like, awesome. This is just But it's markets are so hard during winter because they're usually outdoor events. And the weather can be shit for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm trying to do this winter season just to see what it's like. It's my first one. And I don't mind. If I go and make my costs back, and I've supported a local arts event or a market event that others won't support, then I've done my job as a small business.
Yeah.
It's not just about making massive profits. And that's why I've supported so many local events. Like I sponsored Warrigal Show, Ball Runners Good Friday Appeal. I sponsor a local female race car driver from Terrelgan. She races in the V8 Super 2s.
Wow.
She's a sister of a friend of mine, and she's the only female racer in the V8 paddock. And I'm like, I'll jump on board. Like, you're exactly the people I want to. I don't just have to support my community. To support the only female racer, I find really inspirational, because she's going to show other girls that they can get into go-karting and end up being a proper race car driver. And there's not enough. It's such a male-dominated world. And I'm all for women empowerment. I sit on the committee for Warrigal Show, and we had a meeting yesterday, and I'm like, I want a few more women-owned businesses at our market, because a lot of the time it's male-dominated. Like the food industry is very male-dominated. And I'm like, why can't we find some women who own their food business and get them in? Like, it shouldn't just be one gender or the other in this. So I try and get a good mix of people. And I'd love more gay people doing markets, but it's really hard to find. Like, it's so hard to find out and proud people who are out there doing markets, because I'll happily suggest them to other markets. Like, come along, be the next person. Like, I don't mind doing the job by myself, but like it can't just rely on me, if you know what I mean. Like, we need more people doing it so we've got a bigger spread, because I do Gippsland.
Yeah.
But like, it's hard enough trying to get to the other side of Melbourne and do stuff over there too. So it's one day
you have your own conglomerate.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna be all over the world, hopefully. But I'm a slight control freak, so I won't ever employ anyone, and I'll do everything myself, because it's really hard, because I know the product and I love the product and it's all come from me. Someone else doesn't have that passion.
Yeah.
And that's where I have my issues. I'm like, yes, you could sell it, but you can't sell it like me, where you get people emotionally involved.
Yeah.
And that's why I love doing it, because people will ask me my story, and we have a little chat, and then they're emotionally involved with it. And that's where the support really comes in, because they understand what's happened. And I'm an open book. I don't mind. I've never cared if people were like, tell us what happened. I'm like, well, this is what happened. And they're like, oh, that's shit. And I'm like, well, tell some judges that shit.
But you're so right. With a business, people want to know who the person is. People want to know the story. People want to know your why. They already want to, like, I was just going to say, you could franchise it, but you're absolutely right. Even if you had 100 gay farmers selling your product, and they still don't have your story. They still don't have that drive that comes from you. A lot of people tell me, to scale up. You know, Karen, you can make so much more money if you scale it up, sell your programs and that. But it's not me. It's not me. You know, people buy me. They don't. It's so important.
Exactly. When someone buys my candle, they've bought something of me. I've put everything into this, and when they take it home, they've taken me home with them, and that's what I think they love about the product, because they know where it's come from.
Yeah.
And people have told me, like, you could scale up heaps, and I'm like, it's not about making millions and millions of dollars. It's about making sure that my mental health is in the right space, and I'm happy. Because if I start scaling and scaling, I'm going to get to a point where I'm stressed about other things on top of what I've already got.
Yeah.
I'll be a mess in the bedroom, just laying in bed going, no, not doing anything. So no point. Like,
no.
I want to get into some like homeware stores and like just little cute, small business stuff where it's not going to add a lot of pressure. But I don't want to be this like big Australian company that has hundreds of employers and I'm just churning out candles. It takes the whole reason why I did it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Can we, on your website or on your Facebook page, you know, people follow you on there, or Instagram, or do you have
Instagram
the markets listed?
So I always post what markets I'm coming up to every week on Instagram.
Yeah.
Which is the Gay Farmer AUS. And on my website, I have a market page where I've got probably the next month and a half's worth of all my markets that I list.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people follow and they're like, oh, they'll message and they're like, where you at? So I just direct them to the website now.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot easier.
Yeah, absolutely.
So messaging all these people, I can be like, all my markets are on the website. Go have a look.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic. And what is the website so we can?
It's thegayfarmer.com.au.
Oh, fantastic. Well, Tim, I've absolutely loved this. I absolutely love it. I think that it's one, the candles are fantastic. I love the branding. I love that you make them with love. I love that they're there for your mental health and that's your priority. I love that you're giving, you know, you're getting sort of the equal rights message out into the world in a kind way and just in a gentle way. You know, you're just sort of saying, well, here it is. There's nothing to it. It's just we're all the same. I hate that you've been through that absolute shit show and still going through it. But I think that it's people like you that stand up and say this happens and it's not good enough. It's the only way we're going to make change. You know, that people, because you could have said, well, this happened to me, I'm a victim, that sucks, I'm going to stay in bed all day, you know, and nobody wins from that. But at least you're speaking out. You know, you're potentially saving somebody else, and and some people don't actually make it. You know, some people it's too hard.
That's what I now look at. On bad days, I'm like, you've had the strength to get through it all. Yep. You're still going after 7 years.
Yeah.
But because I speak out, I might save that one person who didn't have the strength. Like, it is not hard. And if someone doesn't make it, I can completely understand why they didn't make it. Because a lot of other people just go, oh, that was the coward's way out. And I'm like, no. When you get to that point, you're in tunnel vision, and that is it. That is the only way that's going to make any happiness for them.
Yeah.
That's their end goal, to be happy and no longer have to deal with it. And for people to go, they cowered out and killed themselves, I'm like, no, they've probably screamed out for help. Nobody realised it, and now they're at that point. So some people I can understand it. It is horrid to go through, and it's really hard to try and see any happiness afterwards, because if you don't get any justice from it, it's a constant, I was never justified, people are okay that this happened, and you start spiraling really bad. And that's why I stand up. I'm like, you can get through this. There are ways and means. I have an extremely good lawyer, thank God, and I give his name out like you wouldn't believe to people who have been exactly through what I've through, because he will give them, it's not guaranteed hope, but he will stand up for you for what you went through. And that's what you need. You just need that one person to go, no, this was wrong. I will do everything in my power to make it right. And I luckily stumbled across him, and he is just the biggest gay ally you can find. He is such a champion for the ally world, and the fact that he will take on cases that a lot of lawyers are like, no, we're not doing this. He will fight, and he's fought for me for probably 4 years. And that helps, knowing that I've got someone who's trained and educated in the legal world who says what happened to you was not right. It gives you some comfort.
Yeah, it validates you.
It does.
It validates your story. It validates you as a human being, and it validates that's completely unacceptable. Do you want to give him a shout out?
His name is Reese Thomas. He's from Macquarie Injury Lawyers.
Yeah.
He's just the sweetest guy. He was on his honeymoon in Greece, and he still called me. Like, he's just, he just is one of these people that just, like, without him in the world would be such a shit place.
Yeah.
And I can't thank him enough for everything he's done for me.
Yeah. Oh, I can feel the emotion in your voice.
Oh, it is. He's just,
yeah.
So since 2019, when I first met him, it's just, he's always just been there. If something was wrong, he would call and go, right, let's fix this. This is not what's supposed to happen. And you don't get that a lot. And like, you get your family and friends support, and you know that they're always going to be there for you. But for a complete stranger just to go, no, I support you, I validate you, I hear you, it means everything. Just to have a stranger go, no, that was wrong, let's fix it. Let's sue the shit out of them and fix.
Yeah. Yep. Well, I hope he's successful, and I hope he's getting the market guy. But anyway, well, I'm curious to see how that all turns out. But
oh, yes.
But Tim, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate you coming on and sharing this, and being a voice for our. I was going to say the underdog, not really the underdog, but perceived as the underdog in society. As one of the underdogs. And any minority group has to face some underdog treatment, and it's absolutely bloody not on, and it's despicable, but it does happen. And unless good people, all ally and stand up and support and lead, like you say, stand up as a leader, things will never change. So I applaud you for the guts that you've had, because you could have said, I'm a victim, I'm staying in bed, but you didn't. You said, this is not fucking right, and you took action, and still taking action. And I can appreciate how bloody hard and tormenting it is to go on for 7 years, day after day after day after day, and think that this is such an obvious issue that should have been fixed on day one, and it should not even still exist. So I admire your strength, and some might say, well, it's not strength, it's just getting through life, but it's not. It takes a lot. It takes a lot to get up every day and face something that's dragged out and dragged out and dragged out. So
exactly, I'm not sucking it up, I'm fighting it.
Yeah.
And so many people have told me, stop the fight, just get on with life. And I'm like, no, they started the fight, I'm going to end the fight.
Yeah.
And I've got to stand up for myself. Otherwise, I will hate myself the rest of my life for not doing what was right by me.
Yeah. And I think also that when people are bullied, there's a lot of shame, and it's kind of like, oh, what did I do wrong? And people are going to think I'm weak, and, and I'm too scared to tell people, I'm embarrassed about it. But if by you, and then they feel alone, they feel like they're the only person in the world that this has happened to. And so when you're speaking up, people can listen to your story and go, oh man, if he's got the guts, that's what happened to me, and he's dealing with it this way. So you just that odd little chance that you might inspire somebody to recognize that they're not alone, and that they could be doing things a little differently is huge. And I love it.
That's all I want to do is, if I change one person's life, or a gay person that's been through my experience, and I get them to stand up and just fight for themselves. They don't have to fight for anyone else. Just stand up for yourself. Or I change the opinion of the people that are doing this, not realizing that it's not a joke. It's not, off the cuff. Everybody laughs about it. Even if I change someone's perspective, who then, when they see it, they go, no, that's not on. I've done my job.
Yeah.
Because there's a big ripple effect. Once someone realizes, okay, that's not on, they'll tend to go to other people, no, you can't do that. And then it's that ripple effect. And I'm hoping it's kind of happening, because unless they're told, they don't know any different.
Yep. Well, they should know different, but we can argue that. But anyway, I think we all know right from wrong. I think
yes.
We've got a value system or a belief system that just chooses to be easier, or chooses to, we have this fear of rejection, fear of being ejected from the crowd, from the tribe. And so I think even when we know it's wrong, we'll still do it because it keeps us in with the mob, and that is mob mentality, and it just needs to stop. But Tim, thank you so very much for coming on and sharing your story. I've absolutely loved this chat, and I know it will make a difference to somebody. So thank you.
Oh, no, thank you for having me. Thank you for giving me a platform to stand on as well, because without people like you doing these types of podcasts, people just don't know what's going on in the world. They are so blinded these days. And if we can change some people's lives, we've done exactly what we've needed to do. Like, we can be happy with who we've become as people. So thank you for doing it.
Oh, my absolute pleasure. Well, I hope to see you at a market someday soon, and I will certainly buy one of your candles with the funky names.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks heaps, Tim. See ya.
No worries. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.